The liquid culture.
What's up, everybody? Mitchell Chirac here with The Liquid Culture. Thank you for joining me again today on another episode of 8 Wines You Should Be Drinking, or 8 Wines You Should Know Of, or 8 Wines You Should Be Seeking Out. Essentially, it's 8 wines. 8 different styles of wine, 8 different wine categories that I'm trying to get you guys into if you aren't into them already. Today is probably the one I'm most excited about. I know you guys saw, I was pretty jacked up about the Chenin Blanc episode, but I think that this one probably takes the cake for me on the 8 wines video saga. Reason being is because today's episode is all about Cru Beaujolais. Not only am I a huge fan of Cru Beaujolais, 1, 2, the producer that I've got here today is a producer that I absolutely love, and that I'm really stoked that I was able to get my hands on some of their wines again this year. And 3, main reason is that Cru Beaujolais, I have seen firsthand experience. I have talked to people who in the past have said, I hate Beaujolais, I don't like the way it tastes, it's not for me, it's not my style of wine, and then all of a sudden, they start trying some Cru Beaujolais, and they're like, wait a second, I can get behind this. And we'll break that down a little bit more here in the episode. So expect a little bit of a longer one here today, just because all of those reasons that I've just talked about. I'm going to really give you a little bit more, not a deep dive into Beaujolais, but definitely a little bit more than the surface area stuff that we've been talking about. So, you know, guys, fall is finally here. I mean, it's like legit fall weather finally. I don't see anything in the forecast that leads me to believe that we're going to keep staying in these 80-degree temperatures. So very happy about that down here. The leaves are starting to change colors. I'm listening to bluegrass. I watched Fantastic Mr. Fox the other day, a fall classic. Pumpkin beers are starting to hit the shelf like crazy. They've already been hitting the shelf like crazy, but you know it's truly fall whenever you start seeing Christmas decorations going up, and I'm talking about in the groceries, in the grocery stores, and you know, at the super centers and all that kind of stuff. I'm not talking. Thankfully, nobody around here is putting their Christmas decorations on their house yet. But so to me, when it starts getting legit fall, it's time for me to start cracking open last year's Beaujolais and Burgundy purchases. Burgundy's a little tougher because those need to age a little bit longer, but Beaujolais is great because it kind of gives you that Burgundy vibe, right? But without the price and without the need to really cellar it for a super long period of time. So let's talk a little bit about what Beaujolais is, where it comes from, and what makes it a little bit different than Burgundy. So for those of you out there, you may know a little bit about Beaujolais. You know that it's kind of quasi-considered part of Burgundy. To me, I like to think of it as a totally separate region, and not, you know, some folks, you know, you read in some wine books, they'll say that Beaujolais is a kind of a sub-region of Burgundy. And in my opinion, it's really not. I mean, it's totally different, even though it really does start just south of Burgundy. Where Burgundy ends, Beaujolais picks up immediately and continues going south, just and ends kind of north of the northern Rhone Valley. So that's where we are. We're on the east side of the country of France, and we're really kind of in that central area right between Burgundy and the Rhone Valley. The climate there is a little warmer than you would expect in Burgundy, and the soils are this granite kind of soil, whereas in Burgundy you've got that limestone soil. We start getting into granite soil down in Beaujolais, which is a reason why Beaujolais is considered a little bit, by the Burgundy snobs, Beaujolais is considered kind of a lesser region. But to me, I think that it is a totally undervalued region, and a place where you can find a lot of wines that are just as good as some lower level Burgundies, and at half the cost. So the other major difference about Beaujolais is that the red grape variety used there is Gamay. So Gamay, totally, I mean, I'm not going to say it's a totally different grape from Pinot Noir. They're actually quite similar in a lot of respects, but I'm saying it's a totally different grape than is used in Burgundy. So there is probably a little Pinot Noir planted throughout Beaujolais, but really the all-star grape there is Gamay. I've got a map here for you guys so you can kind of see a little bit what we're talking about. So this is Beaujolais as a whole. So you can see down at the bottom here, you've got the area of Beaujolais. It's really, further south you go, the warmer you're going to get. So you have just that generic Beaujolais portion of the region. The green part surrounding all the smaller areas with little arrows pointed to them is the Beaujolais village level wine. So again, not the most prime time spots or vineyard spots, but definitely certainly considered a better vineyard sites than the generic Beaujolais. And within the Beaujolais village green space there, you start to see all the other little small appellations and villages for Beaujolais. You start at the top with Saint-Amour and make your way down through the 10 crus of Beaujolais. So today we are going to be tasting a Fleury, which you can see is kind of right there in the middle. Go a little bit further down into Rionnet, and then we're going to finish with a Côte de Brouilly, which is a hill, côte meaning hill, inside of the greater Brouilly Cru there. So that's what we're looking at, guys. That's the map so that you can have a little bit of a better idea as to how the area of Beaujolais really breaks down. One of the other things that you should know about Beaujolais, for those of you out there who are unfamiliar with Beaujolais, the reason why it's gaining popularity is really because within the kind of the sommelier community and the wine geek community, everybody's kind of pushing towards that kind of organic vineyards, no sulfur added in the production of the wine. And Beaujolais was really where a lot of that foundation was set early on for producers to start using pretty much region-wide organic and biodynamic farming practices in the vineyard and very minimalist practices in the cellar with actual production of the wine, and then all that SO2 that everybody's so concerned with, sometimes improperly placed. But regardless, that kind of started all in Beaujolais, and they set the stage for that to be something that a lot of other producers from other regions started following as well. So very important region for kind of the natural wine scene. What does that mean? Who knows? But really an important region, not only for that kind of style of wine production, but really a lot of wine geeks kind of look to Beaujolais as a place to showcase terroir, and we're gonna try and show you that here today with 3 different Cru Beaujolais, all within that same kind of tight corridor there, all the same grape, and today all from the same producer, but in vastly different terroir within the greater Beaujolais appellation. So a little bit about the producer. So today I've got Pierre Coton. Pierre Coton is a newer Beaujolais producer. He started in 2014 with just 1 bottling of Côte de Brouilly. Had just a small acreage of Côte de Brouilly that he made wine with in 2014, and ever since then has been expanding his vineyard acreage that he owns to other places within Beaujolais. So I've got a Fleury today, like I said, a Rionnet, and then the Côte de Brouilly, which he's very well known for. He also bottles a generic Beaujolais, he bottles a Brouilly, and is about to start tiptoeing into the Beaujolais Blanc scene as well. So I think that's it, guys. I think that's what we'll start with, and we'll just go ahead and get into the wine. So very excited about the first wine, the Fleury offering. So we'll give you the full look here. Fleury Beaujolais AOC. Over into the cooler part of the label here. Love all the labels. This is Pierre formerly worked as a motorcycle mechanic, and you can really see the almost that kind of really cool mechanical, very linear styles of kind of radical label production. A lot of the kind of standard forefathers of Beaujolais, they keep their labels very, old school, cursive writing, just, black and white, nothing funky going on. And I think Pierre Coton really jumped on the scene just from his labels alone. Then people started tasting the wines, and they said, oh wow, these wines actually stand up to how badass the label is. The wine inside is equally badass. So I'm, like I said, really stoked about the Fleury because this is actually his first bottling of Fleury. So I have never had this wine before, so I'm tasting it for the first time here on camera today. 2019 vintage from Pierre Coton. This, all of these wines are honestly, guys, they're a little bit more scarce. Very small production, very kind of cult following with these wines. So if you have kind of a natural wine shop in your area, I would certainly go and check out and see if they've got any of these wines, these Pierre Coton wines. We got a really nice allocation of them that I posted about probably a few weeks ago to La Bergerie. Put a couple of them on the shelf. We're saving some of the rest of them for Beaujolais Nouveau Day, which I'll talk a little bit about Beaujolais Nouveau here in a little bit. But this Fleury, one of the more, kind of scarce bottling, so around $50 for this, which I know I said earlier, Beaujolais is a place to look for as a kind of a value wine in comparison to Burgundy. You might be thinking to yourself, $50 for a bottle of wine doesn't really sound like a value wine to me. But I think that for these, you're paying up a little bit for that kind of cult status, that name recognition, those cool labels. But I can assure you the wines inside definitely live up to their price points. So, let's talk a little bit about Fleury. So Fleury is known as being one of the most northernmost appellations or crus within Beaujolais. Fleury is in that kind of cooler portion of Beaujolais. As you go further south, you're going to get warmer. So because of that, you've got a much more kind of light and feminine expression of Beaujolais, very kind of floral. Fleury, flower, you would think, right? It gets its name because of the floral character that you get from wines made from the Fleury Cru. This one is no exception. There's lots of really juicy smelling red fruits, lots of very crunchy, juicy, just I'm picturing myself just like in a cartoon, if you have like a bowl of just all kinds of red berries in front of you and you just start gorging yourself on them and juice is shooting out all over the place and running down your face. I mean, that's what I'm smelling in here. In addition to like violets and almost like a very subtle kind of potpourri type thing in a very good way. Not a ton of gamey or earthy quality with this wine, just a really refined and beautiful aroma coming out of the glass here. Ultra elegant and lush. Nice acidity. I would say almost non-existent tannin. Maybe a little bit on the kind of the center of my tongue and the center of the roof of my mouth. A little bit of tannin there. Really beautiful, bright, fresh acidity. And all of those juicy, crunchy, exploding red fruits that I was smelling on the nose are all over my palate. I mean, I want to go back and just chug the rest of this. You know what? Taking the rest of it down. That is just a delight. I was looking very much forward to drinking this wine, and I'm very, very happy. It did not disappoint. I do generally enjoy lots of kind of earthy, funky character in my Beaujolais, especially my Cru Beaujolais. This one drinks a little bit more in that elegant, just fruit juice kind of style, but don't take that as it's a not serious wine. I mean, it's just a really, really gulpable, delicious wine. Pierre, again, follows all organic viticultural practices, and then the fermentation takes place in concrete tanks, which retains as much of that kind of that just pure raw fruit character of the grapes and of the wine within those concrete fermentation vessels. And this one, I mean, you can absolutely sense that. This wine tastes so pure to me, so elegant, so refined, not rustic in any way. Very, very elegant, refined, focused, pure fruit enjoyment right here. Very, very happy with that first wine. So moving on to the Rene. So we're moving, we're going north to south as far as our crus are concerned. But remember, still same producer, same vintage for this as well. So this is 2019 Rene. Another really badass label here from Pierre Cotton. Rene is generally known as the appellation that brings a little bit more spice character to the wines and a little bit more full-bodied and structured, especially compared to Fleury. So I'm expecting something a little bit spicier here, a little bit more punchy. But this is actually, I believe this is his second bottling of Rene. So whereas this was the first bottling of the Fleury, I believe this is the second vintage of the Rene that Pierre Cotton has done. Man, I'm thinking this might be a bad bottle. Smelling some cork taint characteristics. The cork looked fine. I didn't see any sort of issues with the cork, but this might just be one of those bottles that got a little bit of something in it. Now remember, there is no SO2 used in any of these wines, which is a preservative. So this is, something that can happen with wines like this. The aroma to me is that very kind of wet cardboard. It could be, that just maybe was the style with this wine. Sometimes a lot of natural wine geeks really like that, what they call kind of like mouse in a wine, which is that kind of wet cardboard, wet paper, slightly funky, musty kind of smell. But honestly, this just smells like a cork-tainted wine to me. It may blow off, though, too. So what I did with these, because they're all very young, I wanted to put a little bit of life into them instead of just popping the bottle. I ran these through just the aerator decanter, so not an extensive decanting done, but I did get some air to them. So ran them through the aerator decanter, flipped them back over, wine went back into the bottle, so just a little bit of air to help open them up a little bit. It really is, though, as it's in my glass, that cork taint aroma is really starting to fade away a little bit, but it's still very muted. Like, I don't get a lot on the aroma, or on the really anything out of the aroma. Yeah, I mean, that's just really got to be a bad bottle. I hope the whole production was not affected in that way for this bottling. Hopefully it's just this one bottle. But really, guys, this is actually a really good opportunity to kind of explain a little bit about what a cork-tainted bottle tastes like. Already talked about the aroma. On the palate, there's nothing. I mean, there's really nothing on the palate other than structure, which is there is some tannin, there is some acidity, but it's not a well integrated acidity. It's almost like kind of a burns your palate kind of acidity, and it really just kind of tastes like you're sucking on a cardboard box. I don't know if it's going to change with a little bit of air. Maybe later tonight I'll definitely revisit to see if there's anything happening with it, but yeah, unfortunately, just a bad bottle, which does happen. Does happen. Let's move on. I'm gonna give myself a little rinse here too. Hopefully that make sure that nothing left in the glass here to mess up my Côte de Brouilly that we've got up next. Apologize for that, guys. That's why I usually like to taste these beforehand, just to make sure that we don't have anything like that happen. But didn't do it before this one. So let me give you a close-up here. This is the Côte de Brouilly. So this is, again, I mentioned before, Pierre started with Côte de Brouilly. This is where he's based, in the Côte de Brouilly village. So this is kind of his 100% Coton. This is his kind of namesake. This is where he got his start. This is where he made a name for himself, was with this cru. And this is a wine I have had before. So again, he's been bottling this wine since 2014. So this is the 2018 vintage. This is the fourth iteration of this wine for Pierre. Classically, you've got, again, so we started at Fleury, very light, floral, elegant version of Cru Beaujolais, then moved down into Rennais, which is generally, I know we had a bad experience here, generally a little bit more bigger body, a little bit more structured, and a little bit more spicy and punchy. Now we're getting a little bit further south, and actually to the farthest end pretty much of the Beaujolais Crus, and we're in Côte de Brouilly. So Côte de Brouilly is a hill within the greater Brouilly appellation, so a little bit lower area for Brouilly, but then that hillside, you get a little bit more even ripening, a little bit more better quality of fruit in Côte de Brouilly. And these, to me, are, you know, wines. I drink a lot of Côte de Brouilly. This is one of my favorite crus of Beaujolais. They generally, to me, they're the most longest lasting, you know, age worthy. You can really age these for 5, 10, 15 years. And a lot of times these are the ones that really taste like fall to me. Lots of wet leaves and crunchy leaves and turned earth and soil funkiness character going on with them. We actually just got like a busted case, like 10 bottle case of Côte de Brouilly from another producer that we tasted the other day, and it was just absolutely stunning. Like fall in a glass, no question. This is no different. It's not as big and in your face fall as the one I was just referencing, but what this wine tastes like fresh cranberries. And it tastes like crunchy wet leaves, like you jump in that leaf pile on Thanksgiving Day. That's those nice dry crunchy leaves. They have that very distinct aroma to them that smells like fall. There's a little bit of almost kind of like a licorice kind of cassis kind of thing going on here. But still remains very fresh and very vibrant. Just a slight hint of that funky kind of decaying leaf kind of thing, but not towards that like compost manure, you know, kind of barnyard characteristic. Just that slight tinge of that kind of wet, crunchy leaf. So, a lot more structure on this wine than with the Fleury. It's fuller on the mid palate. It takes you to a little bit more masculine, brawny kind of characteristic. Tannin all over, but not strong. I mean, guys, this is still Beaujolais, right? So we're not expecting anything crazy high tannin, but there is a good amount there to lead to a little bit more structured wine that would be more of a food-friendly pairing here. I'm doing some sous vide steaks tonight, rubbed them down with some bacon fat, a little sprig of rosemary and garlic. They're already in the pot sous videing. Gonna sear those off really nice, and then doing a nice cheesy cauliflower gratin, a little salad. Absolutely will be drinking this wine with that. That's what is so beautiful about Cru Beaujolais, is that you can have such beautiful, light, floral, just pop it, drink it, and enjoy yourself. No need to pair it with food. And then you have something like this that has ample structure. It really can not only pair with French bistro foods, but it can pair with your steak night. I wouldn't say that it's going to meet those needs of those people who love that big, bold, tannic, oaky, deep-colored Bordeaux, or, you know, Cab from California, something like that. It's not going to do that for you, that steakhouse wine. But if you're doing something a little bit, you know, more on the casual side, nice strip steak, seared off with a little, you know, little side dish, little salad. This has enough structure and flavor and character to really take you to a good pairing with that. And I'm excited about having them side by side, because you know, I'm feeling like that rosemary that I'm doing the steaks with, I feel like is really going to bring out a nice kind of herbal character, like a that licorice that I get on the nose. On the palate, it almost turns into this like woodsy herb characteristic, kind of like thyme or rosemary, something a little bit woodsier that leads you to something like a little bit more fall roasted herb vegetables and chicken and things like that. So I'm really, really excited to see how that plays with this wine. Yeah, I mean that's exactly what I've come to expect from the Côte de Brie from Pierre Coton. I mean they don't go that ultra funky, earthy route like some other Cru Beaujolais, but definitely still very, very flavorful and very juicy and very easy drinkers. Sucks about the cork taint on the Rennais. The Fleury, I mean, blew me away. That is a beautiful, beautiful wine. Super excited. I hope he continues bottling that every year, because that's a wine that I look very much forward to. But guys, that's Cru Beaujolais. I hope that, I know this was a little bit longer video, so for those of you who stuck in, thank you very much. But I hope that if you haven't dipped your toe into Cru Beaujolais, you absolutely should, and I hope you end up doing that after watching this video. As I had mentioned, these are a little bit more hard to find, a little bit pricier versions of Cru Beaujolais, but there are a lot of them out there that are still very much undervalued. I mean, we have a Moulin Avant at the shop right now that I think you can walk out the door with for about $25, and that's one of the most well-known and most highly regarded crus of Beaujolais. So absolutely go seek out Cru Beaujolais. Know what to expect after what we've talked about here. Do a little bit of research ahead of time to see what cru you might like, what might fit your palate better before going and spending some money, and really get excited about drinking Beaujolais for the fall. I'm telling you guys, it's going to be a really nice thing to do in the fall, to get excited about every year. So I'm gonna take these whiskeys home, because it's absolutely time for me to start dipping into the brown liquor. And we'll catch you next time. Mitchell Chirac, The Liquid Culture. See ya.